Welcome to Tobar's Realm. Today I think I'm gonna try making a blade, like a knife blade, out of an old saw blade. So this is one of our kitchen knives that is pretty low quality. I've sharpened it multiple times and it just doesn't hold an edge, so I think I'm gonna make one that's pretty close to these dimensions and then just make it out of a saw blade. So I'm gonna get a pattern off of it onto this paper and then transfer it to the blade and then cut it out with an angle grinder. And so I'm gonna start tracing that out on here to transfer to there. Let's get going. Alright, so I got a pattern of the knife blade and kind of marked where the handle's going to start and where the sharpening of the blade will be. And although it's not a full tang on this, I think that 2 rivets through there will be plenty. It's just going to be a kitchen knife if this goes successfully, so that should be plenty of reinforcement for that. So I'm just going to transfer that pattern to this blade and then cut it out. I just started cutting it and got a little too hot there. I don't want that, so I'm going to have to go slower and cool it off with some water. I don't want it to start bluing like that, especially on the blade. Alright, well, I got it rough cut out with the angle grinder. I think I did it slow enough that I didn't get any bluing anywhere, at least nowhere that mattered. That was that original mistake, but luckily that's in the tang and it doesn't really matter. But I'm gonna clean up these edges on my regular grinder and just go slow and probably dip it in water as I'm going just to cool it down. Alright, well, I got the rough shape pretty much done. There's that where I overheated it, but it's kind of good to have that happen so you know what you're working with. And then I think that's marker. I don't think it overheated, but I got to be careful with that tip. That's what she said. And then left it a little bit of a belly right here, but that's okay. I think the curve will be fine. So really start beveling it down to make that tip sharp, or the edge sharp. Alright, so I just marked it with some marker there of where I'm gonna have the handle start, and then just kind of put a line there of where I want to start the angle of the blade. It's not super accurate line, but I'm gonna try doing it with a angle grinder with a, what do they call them, flap wheel sander, freehand. So I doubt it'll be perfect anyway, even if the lines were good. Alright, so I got it sharpened with the sanding flapper wheel on the grinder that was 80 grit. Did both sides, and you can kind of feel when you run your fingers down the side of on each side of the blade, you can kind of feel where it's not right. So I just went back and fine-tuned it a little bit, and it's pretty close. You can kind of see a little bit of marks from the wire or sanding wheel. But now I think I'm going to take it to a sanding stone, sharpening stone, and I just use WD-40 on it to lubricate those when I sharpen it. So I'm going to get started on that. Alright, well, I got it sharpened up. It is very sharp at this point. Now I'm going to start sanding off all these scratches. I think I'm just going to start out with some worn out 220 grit and slowly work finer and finer. I meant to grab some like 500 and 1000 grit today, but I forgot. So we'll see how it goes, but not bad. That 220 grit's working pretty good. Just getting out the scratches. Working on, let's see, can you see it in the glare right there? And then working my way towards the tip here. But that's working. Slow going. There's some deeper ones there too. But not going to worry about this. This will be in the handle anyway. Well, that's working pretty good. I got one side done. Got all the, I want to focus, there we go. And now to do the other side, so you can see that started out about the same, but alright, well, I finished both sides as good as I think they need to be. I'm not going to polish it or anything, but it looks good. It's not quite as sharp anymore. I'll end up sharpening it again, but now I'm going to move on to making the hilt for it. Well, I've started on the handle, and I think what I'm going to do is make a really thin piece that will be the thickness of the blade itself, and make like an outline of it, and then sandwich that between two thicker pieces on the outside, and then rivet through a couple spots here and probably one that doesn't go through the metal, and I'll probably glue it together with epoxy. But right now I'm working on that little piece that'll be the thickness of the blade itself. So this is just a piece of oak from other project that I had scrap. It's joined together here, so I'm just trying to harvest one piece of joint that's one solid piece of wood, and I just cut it down with a chop saw to make a real thin piece. The blade cut is curved. This is the furthest point, and then here is just the curvature of the blade, and then I just cut it with a hacksaw all the way down. So I'm going to cut that off, figure out how that's going to fit on here, and then sandwich that all together. Alright, well, I got that slat sanded to the right thickness and notched it out to fit the blade in there. Not perfect right here. I'm not happy about that, but I think it'll get filled in with epoxy and whatever. I'm not a professional. And then cut 2 more pieces to sandwich that with. One will be on each side to cut the handle out of. Just got a pattern of what I want it to be. And then I'm going to mark the points where I want to put the holes through for a rivet. Here I just took that saw blade I cut the blade out of, and I have this piece of brazing rod that I just made sure that the hole was the right size and pounded that in, and that works. So gonna be epoxying it. I'll drill those first, get the holes lined up, and then epoxy it together, and then start forming the shape of the handle. Alright, so I've got the holes drilled in the tang of the knife. I also got the holes drilled through the handle pieces. It'll fit like that on the inside. And then I'll sandwich it in between here. And then I got the rivets I'm going to put through it. This is actually brazing rod. And I just did some little cuts in it so the epoxy has something to kind of grab onto once it's set in there. And I'm just going to use this Gorilla Glue epoxy, mix it up on a little, this is actually a coffee can lid. Squirt it on there, mix it up, smear it in between, clamp it. So I used that Gorilla Glue epoxy to glue this together, and that was about 3 hours ago, and it's still kind of soft when you stick your nail into it. So I hope I mixed it well enough. I know with epoxy it's better to over mix it than under mix it, but it also said it had a 5-minute set time, so I was trying to balance the mixing with the gluing. So it says it should be cured in 24 hours, so hopefully in the morning this will be a lot harder, because if I didn't mix it well enough could have ruined the whole thing. But I checked some of the other spots and they all kind of feel the same. They kind of feel like almost cured silicone. So if I didn't mix it well enough, I think some parts would be hard and some would be soft, but they all kind of feel the same. So I'll hope for the best on this. Okay, so it's been almost 24 hours. Just kind of cut some of that drips off there, but it's definitely harder than it was, so that's good. I got the handle outlined on there. I'll probably use a jigsaw and cut off some of that extra and sand these down and then start shaping it. So I've been working on this for maybe an hour or so, using the belt sander. Got the top pretty close to where I want it, but it's going really slow. This oak is pretty hard and doesn't want to shape very quickly, so I got the outline of the handle in there. I decided just to use my drill and kind of get rid of the majority of the meat here that I'm gonna have to cut off. So I'm gonna just cut along those and get that chunk out of there. That should speed it up quite a bit, at least on that part. That worked pretty good. Got off a bunch of that. Well, so far so good. I started rounding it off. I'm trying to basically make it the same as the original handle. So starting to angle it, the top and the belly there, but it's going a lot faster now. Well, I got finished going over it with 150 grit. I think it's looking really good, really comfortable in the hand. I'm going to go over it with 220 now. Alright, well, I got it finished up. Put I think it's called Sonoran Red stain on the handle. Then a little bit of wood, is that paste? I could have sanded it a little bit finer, but this is just going to be a kitchen knife. It's my first one, so I'm happy overall. Got it sharpened up. So that was fun. I think I'll do it again at some point. I'm happy. Thanks for watching. Until next time.